Hey, now you probably found this video because you're looking to buy some used gear, like you may be trying to stretch some pennies, or you're looking for devices that don't really exist anymore, but they're the type of things that you just can't go down to your neighbour and be like, hey, can I buy that drum machine off you because you got it posted in the newspaper? So this really leaves you in the online realm, and you're looking at marketplaces, you're looking at like places like eBay, you're looking through listings and you're finding some really good deals, lots of supporting images and context about it, but in the back of your mind you're having that bit of a niggly thought of like, is this too good to be true? Is this actually a scam? And really this is the place I sit in, because I live in rural Queensland, which is quite isolated from all the musical synthesizer doodads that I do here. And what sparked this video is my recording my tutorials. Like, I use a H5 and this has been really good, but I did buy this secondhand, and only yesterday my preamps died at the bottom, so it's put a bit of a can in my music tutorial creation. And I thought, well, this is a really good topic because a lot of people are in this situation where they're getting packages online and getting things delivered to their home. So it's like, how do you protect yourself and find the right information to help you make informed decisions about buying used gear? So I thought I'd make this little video and compact all that into one little bit. So if you do find anything that you think would be useful, like say, oh, grandma should really know about that one, or just some random person online, definitely give it a thumbs up, and definitely feel free to leave a comment down below, because really that helps the recommendation system on YouTube point this video to other people. So let's get straight into it. So rule number one is definitely do your research. Really want to try and understand what the thing is you're going to buy, because the more knowledge that you have, definitely with G.I. Joe, knowledge is half the battle. When you go for a new car, the more you understand about cars, it's a lot harder for someone to pull the wool over your eyes. So going with that mindset, I think the more important part of the research is understanding your why. Like, why do you want that thing? And when you can start drilling it down into it, so it's like, what is it going to be used for? How am I going to use it? Like, what pipeline is it going to help with? It's going to do these things. It sort of builds up a list of the things that you're actually looking for, and you can take that to the thing that you want to buy, or it can maybe point you in direction of some other gear that you didn't know about. So it's about keeping your mind open, but that knowledge base sort of helps out with what you're trying to get. When you have that idea of the device or devices that you're looking at, definitely start getting very technical, dive into the manuals and start exploring all the functionality of it. That's really, like, YouTube's really good for this, for explanations of different devices and how they work. Like synthesizers, you can type in the synth that you want, you'll find hundreds of videos about how it is and how it works and all the bits. But what you're trying to do is find out how it works, so in your mind you can sit down in front of one and actually play with all the settings, do all the buttons, tweak all the settings, so you have an idea of how it actually works. Because when you come time to purchase one, you sort of want to be able to see those things happening, and if something's broken it might become glaring obvious. Like with these types of drum machines or synthesizers, like there could be a crackly pot and that could ruin the experience, so you want to see someone tweaking those settings. So I find that's really useful to have that technical knowledge to back up your whys as well. Now, once I have that sort of understanding of what the device I want is, this is where I start looking on these stores. And this isn't to put money down, this is just getting a lay of the land, so to speak. It's more of figuring out where you can buy it. So I know in Australia for music gear, like I've got Reverb, but there's also places like Found Sound in Melbourne where I can actually buy used gears from like a storefront. And having an idea of that, you sort of get a sense of like how much you're going to be spending on the device. Like you find your min and max values. What sort of condition are we looking at? Like with older machines or older devices, like there will be that wear and tear, depending if it's been left in someone's garage or been looked and well kept after. Things like where you can get it from, so it could be a very rare item that you might have to import overseas, or if it's something that was pretty common and you can source one locally. So it sort of gives you an idea where you can get this sort of stuff from. Now, talking to market is one thing, but I really enjoy the human aspect of this, and I find that going onto like online groups and online forums is really useful to get a sense of what these devices are doing. So I know with synthesizers, it's really nice to just pretty much like Minilog XD group into Google, and you'll find out there's like a Facebook group, there's Discord groups, there's Reddit groups, and you can really find the community around these machines. You might go a bit broader if you're a bit more bespoke with what you're doing, but there's definitely community groups out there, and you'll get a sense of what they think about the device, what they find really well, what they don't find really well. They might point out some issues that they've had, and this is giving you a sort of mental base with what's going on. And you also might find that these groups host their own marketplaces as well, where they're selling within their community. And these are really good to source as well, because you might see that marketplace is selling for this and the community is selling for this. So it gives you a sense of what's going on there. But also they'll actually point out if there's someone that's a scammer online or selling something, they will get flagged in certain groups as well. So you have that sort of communal respect of each other there as well. So it's really good to sort these sort of things out. And also outside of the groups, you might hear of joke channels, or like for synthesizers, we've got synth memes. They're always good to watch because they do play on tropes and make a funny out of it. So they're really good to watch as well, just for a laugh, as well as getting an idea of what some people are saying on their descriptions. Why do all this research? Like, you might find it boring. Me personally, I do get a kick out of going deep diving into these machines and finding all the nitty-gritty points, but really it gives you a landscape to base your idea of what you're going to buy off, because it's going to point out cost, it's going to point out any potential flaws or issue that's happening with the machine, and things to look for, which is really handy to spot red flags when you see a listing and it just looks too good to be true, or if something's wrong. So that's why we do all the research, is to get that frame of reference. Now that we have our knowledge, we're going to go into the marketplace, and this is where we just go out and start looking at listings and saving any ones that we think are good enough to buy. And when I mean save it to your account or whatever, but also keep a copy off site, and we'll get to that one a bit later. Now on these listings, they are coming from sellers, and we can use those sellers for a bit of information. So one is like, do they sell a lot of things, or are they like a personal seller? Are they selling one or two things as they go on? You can check their reviews. So a lot of these platforms will have ways of people can give them like a 5-star review and thank you for the service. Or if you're looking at the 1-star reviews, you can see how the store person has responded to the person. So they're like, oh, sorry about that, we'll give you a refund and blah blah blah. So it's sort of like a way to sort of vet the seller. And with our listing, we have the description. Now we should have nice, clean, sharp images of what the state of the machine is. No blurry phone photos here. We do, if they're really nice, they might offer us a video showcasing that the whole thing's working in condition. So that's a really nice to have. We also will have a written description which will highlight the key features of the machine and its current state. So things like in excellent condition, maybe a bit scuffed up but in working order, or needs a bit of repair, and they might give a bit of a why they're selling it as well, and that's a nice to have. But you want to make sure that description meets what the images are saying, and keep an eye out for language like seller wants to do a bank deposit or bate. The device is untested or don't know how it works. These are conversation starters to have, and you want to keep an eye out for that sort of language. And I think the last point is the price. Like that's why we're here. But if something's in the extremely low value from that minimum that we organize, that's a red flag. And if it's past the max, there's something that's going on there as well. So you sort of want to get all this information together and have maybe you see the listing and it's perfectly fine for you, or they might have a few more questions with the owner, and like, do feel that you can ask them any question about the object. It's a really good conversation starter. They'll give you more information about it. I really like learning about the history of what I'm getting, so it's got a bit of a background, especially for my older things that I have. Like, it's nice to have that history to pass it on if I do sell something on to the next person. Also, do ask for extra information as well. Like if they didn't provide a video and it's something like a synthesizer, see if they can play you something with it or show that it's working and send you the video, because it's really nice to peace of mind to get that. And do use your please and thank yous. Like, this is a conversation with someone else. They're a human being, and you can definitely go a lot further with please and thank you than other ways. There's a really good way to start the conversation, but I do have some don'ts. And one thing is, don't feel pressured into buying the thing. So if you're having a conversation, they're trying FOMO tactics like fear of missing out, or saying, oh, I'll be gone tomorrow and that. Don't feel any pressure on purchasing it. That's a tactic by marketeers or a scammer trying to get a quick sale. So definitely keep mindful of that one. Another big don't is don't engage with them outside the marketplace. So usually these systems have own messaging and own systems to handle communication, and just use them to communicate. That's enough to talk about it. Everything be in writing and in the system. So if there was anything to happen, it's all documented on a third-party system and not between you and this other person. And my last don't is don't get combative with this owner. It never helps at all getting combative, and there's no real need for it, so just don't do it. Alright, so you had a really good conversation with the owner, and you've pretty much dotted I's, crossed the T's. He's calmed a lot of your fears. You understand the risk of buying a second-hand unit, and you're pretty happy with the result, and now you're at the point where you want to put money on the table. So one thing is definitely consider postage and maybe customs as well where you're located. Like for me, there's a few things that I need to keep an eye out for in Australia. Just know that that could potentially happen, so just a bit extra, but usually these marketplace sites will say postage, or you would negotiate postage with the person and add it on top of the purchase price. So really you're at that point to put the money on the table, and this is where I say don't use your own money to purchase. And this doesn't mean take your partner's card. This is using your own money but in a way that isn't your own money, because it's like your bank account is different to, say, like a third party like PayPal or your credit card. These payment systems like PayPal and credit card have fail safes built into them with the agency or PayPal to deal with theft or scammers, and it's really easy to work with their system and get your money back if something was to be scamish or theft, compared to your bank account where it doesn't really have those protections. You can have a bit of a look online for a bit of horror stories on this type of thing, which definitely pushed me down the route of using PayPal, and really I just go, here's my bank account, put the money across and then pay for the thing. Now back onto postage, see if you can get a photo off the owner of how they wrap the device, like lots of bubble wrap, making sure things can't move on the object, and put inside of a big stiff carton box. Make sure that if it shakes, nothing moves inside, and that's probably the best way to protect anything with electronics. If you're dealing with like hammers and that, it could be a different story, but yeah, you want to make sure that it's wrapped well enough to survive going through postal systems. And now you're at the point of playing the waiting game, and if it's anything like me, you're waiting for a bit because you're in a bit of a special spot in the world and it takes a bit of time to get something somewhere, so be patient, have your cups of tea. And when it does arrive, first things first, definitely unpack it and see if it's to what they sent in an image, as well as if they didn't send an image, it's packed well. Plug it in, turn it on, see if everything's working, make sure there's no scuffs or marks that are different from the photos. This is why you save the listing, so you can go back on it. Say if they take the listing off, you can't get access to those photos. You want to try and just make sure everything's working, everything's cool, because if you find anything, definitely start communications with the owner, just saying, hey, such and such is not working. It wasn't written in the description, or it was banged up in post because of thing. And yeah, you really want to have that conversation as well, and please and thank yous. Don't get combative. Really, they want to work with you to try and solve the issue, especially if they're a storefront trying to build a service and make a business out of them. They'll definitely work with you. I will say also, as backup, definitely learn your consumer rights in the country you're in. I know with Australia, we do get a lot of consumer rights as well. So just keep them in mind as you're talking to the person as well. Don't be combative about it. Just say, hey, this is what is here. So I want to sort of work with you to reach an agreement on how to solve this out. And really, I've had cases where things have come broken and I was able to get a discount because I knew I could fix it, which leads into my next point, which isn't for everyone, is I'm definitely big on repair culture. I like fixing things. I will definitely buy broken things that I know I have the skills to fix. So if you're finding listings where it's saying, oh, it's in need repair, and you can see like definitely if a potentiometer on one of these machines is faulty or crackly or just doesn't work, I know I can get in there and replace that part. So for me, it's not a big issue to buy something from that, and that's where you really need to understand the risk you're taking on purchasing these secondhand bits of gear, because you're going to end up with something that could be a brick, but also you, like for me, I'm like 90% sure I can replace a potentiometer and everything else is working, so I can just see that that's the issue. So just another bit of food for thought on your journey of buying secondhand gear. So I hope this has been helpful for you. It is one of those scary things, but you can definitely minimize the risk of buying online, and definitely a lot of companies and a lot of individuals are trying to work to make sure that no one's getting scammed. And on that, did I get scammed buying this microphone? No. I am upset that it died after a year. In that year, I did capture a lot of information. I made a lot of tutorials, and really having access to something a lot cheaper, like I did get this a couple of $100 cheaper than what it was, it allowed me to test out a pipeline to create a better way of doing what I do here. So really, I've got a H6 rocking up in the mail, hopefully tomorrow, and then I can start back up my tutorial series again. So it's definitely been an impact on my pipeline getting access to cheaper gear, and it's made me wanting to get something brand new, which comes with warranty and all that good stuff, so I don't have an issue where something fails after a year. And that could be a potential new video, but all in all, I think this is something that's very useful to a lot of people right now that are looking to start their own businesses and trying to save a few pennies, because it does get expensive, especially in this area. It's definitely gated by cost. So I hope you found this useful. Definitely, if you liked it, definitely give it that thumbs up. And if there was anything that you feel that could be added to this and help someone else out, leave it down below in the comments. I would like to read them as well. And all in all, I hope you have a good time, and I'll see you next time.